Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sawcruhteez Streamz, and we are starting a brand new segment on this channel, and I am very excited to be co-hosted for this with a friend of mine, Gabriel Harper, who some of the viewers have become a little bit familiar with him through the GoFundMe campaign that we did a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to, first of all, thank everybody very, very much that took the time to contribute to that campaign. Not only took the time, but also donated the money that was needed very much so that Gabriel could help make sure that his daughter is getting the care that is needed. Basically, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to be doing this show today. Gabriel wouldn't have even had a free hour throughout the entire week to be able to do this show together if you guys weren't there to help him raise some money when he needed it the most. So I am very excited about what we've got planned. It is a bit of a unique show that I think will offer a lot of value to viewers, especially those who are potentially a little bit newer to trading and wanting to learn more. Gabriel is somebody who I have been teaching my methods and techniques. Every week we meet up and I have been teaching him technical analysis as well as how to trade, and that's what this is going to be about. This is going to be live coaching sessions where I am coaching him in real time as he is making real trades for real money, and through that interaction I expect a lot of good things will come about because he has great questions and great input, and then I think it will be really helpful for viewers to see how trades are executed in real time. So with that being said, thank you very much for joining us, Gabriel. You want to go ahead and say a few things about yourself?
I think you pretty much covered all of it. I really appreciate you having me here on your channel for the show. I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity to learn, and I think we're going to go over a lot of the same stuff that you have been teaching me for the last 9 months or so, and I think that's good for all of your viewers because the stuff that you've taught me has been absolutely invaluable, and I know that they're going to profit just as much from it as I have when they learn about it themselves.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm very excited to go ahead and dive right in. One last kind of disclaimer to make is that what we're going to be doing through this show is pretty much practicing. We're not, the goal of the trades that we're making is not to make money. Our goal is to practice. So I trade the 4-hour chart and all the way up to the weekly chart, and I am a very, very, very big proponent of practicing on smaller time frames because I believe that you can learn as much from the 3-minute chart in a couple months as it would take you a couple years to learn from the higher time frames, because you get signals more quicker and you can build experience on a much more rapid basis. So we're going to be trading some very small time frame charts, just basically looking at zooming in all the way to the minute chart so that we can make full trades here inside of an hour show. And then that is not, we're not really going to expect to make any money. If we break even, that'll be excellent. This is really, it's like spring training. It's a batting practice. We are going to the cages to really hone our skills and sharpen our tools. And so therefore, we're going to use a very, very small amount of money. I recommend using less than 1%, even less than 0.5% of your trading roll. Set that aside for some practice, and then take your exact techniques and use it on the shorter time frames. When I've done this in the past myself, it's been the single best way for me to learn and improve my skills and my ability. And as I have been working with Gabriel, that's what I've been recommending to him as the best way for him to improve. So as I've done that myself, I have learned a ton, but I've never really been able to be profitable on the really small time frames. It's just not how I trade. I like swing trading. I don't like scalping, and it's something that doesn't work for me to profit, but it works very, very, very well to learn. So that's what this is going to be all about, is showing you guys very small time frame trades so that we can do, maybe 10 trades in just a couple shows, and that will be much different than when you're watching me trade the 4 hour. I could go months with just one trade. Not going to learn near as much. So with that being said, we will have Gabriel go ahead and share his screen and pull up BitMEX. By the time that we are starting this, our first show, I expect to have the BitMEX tutorials up on my YouTube channel for anyone that is not familiar with the platform, and even for people who are familiar with the platform, there will be some advanced parts of the tutorial which will be very important for my method for how to calculate leverage by making sure that you're not going to get liquidated. So for people who are new to BitMEX or new to using leverage or maybe new to short selling, head on over to my channel and look for the BitMEX tutorial. It is 101 through 105, 5-part series, and that will get you up and going, ready to hit the ground running like Gabriel looks like has been doing lately. Got some good positions on the books, I see.
Yeah, we'll call it dumb luck, but I do have to go ahead and agree with you with what you were talking about with BitMEX and the need for a tutorial. I remember, I think it was back either in December of last year or in January when you first started training me, and you had told me that BitMEX was hands down the best place to trade. Like there just was no second place in terms of something that was close. And I didn't believe you at first. I opened up this unholy mess and I had no clue what I was doing. It was just about the most confusing thing in the world. And it was a very stark contrast from, sort of the TD Ameritrades and things like that, where everything seems a lot slower and a lot easier. But after gaining more experience with it, becoming more comfortable with it, I have to say that this is definitely the most, I would say, intuitive and innovative trading platform that is out there. And I would just, like you said, highly recommend it to anybody who's looking to trade specifically with leverage. But it is also extremely tricky to calculate your leverage, specifically if you're making trades with synthetic leverage. So I know that you'll have all that covered in your tutorial that you put out. And I would highly recommend everybody would stop watching this video or any future trading videos and watch that BitMEX tutorial first.
Excellent. Yep, I definitely agree. I think that this is a great option, and I do not think that there are some kind of copycats coming out that are just basically copying BitMEX's model, which essentially, and some of them are gaining good liquidity. So that does mean that now maybe there are some close seconds, but really, for me, I trust my money on BitMEX, and the main reason is because the insurance fund that they have. They're one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, and that's because of the insurance fund that they have accumulated over the years. So the copycats that are coming out, even if they have everything that BitMEX has in terms of the platform and the fee structure, even if that's the case, they still do not have this massive insurance fund, which to me is extremely important. That was the first thing that attracted me to BitMEX, is I want to make sure that the exchange is solvent, and seeing the insurance fund that BitMEX has makes me very confident that they are as solvent as it gets.
I would agree, and liquidity is, I think, one of the biggest issues that I've learned from you. And I've had to take my lumps trading assets either on BitMEX, if we're talking about the altcoins versus BTC, or on other exchanges with other assets, that having low liquidity is the quickest way to get what I call a John Wick right on out of the trade. So those crazy wicks that just go like, 10, 15 times the size of the candle and stop out everybody, I call those John Wicks. And that happens all the time when you have low liquidity. So that's, to me, why BitMEX right now is absolutely number one.
I remember you bringing up that term before, and I'd forgotten about it, and I don't think I realized in real time what a great term that is. That is definitely something that we'll have to continue using here. And you're absolutely right. That's one where I personally only trade Bitcoin and ETH USD on BitMEX. ETH BTC, it's questionable. It's iffy. That's one that the liquidity is just really getting to be too small. BTC USD and ETH USD have enough liquidity that these crazy manipulative wicks don't happen on a regular basis, which if you're trading on leverage and using hard stop losses, you can't have even a wick come up to that price, of course. So we definitely don't want to be getting John Wicked out of our trades. That's for darn sure. So why don't you go ahead and tell us the strategy that you are wanting to employ. So let's make the rules just very clear to the audience, and then we can go ahead and dive in and make some trades.
Yeah, so I think that what we did last time is a good place to start. And as with all trading strategies, these are prone to develop and evolve over time. So by no means what we're trading this week or today might be this, might not be the same as what we do in a future episode. But where we last left off, we were using a combination of the TD sequential system along with the stop and reverse points. And I just want to take a second also to shill the Lucid SAR that you helped develop with the late Tyler Jenks. You folks noticed a deficiency in the parabolic stop and reverse points. You worked, I know, with one of the coders that does TradingView indicators to produce a new Lucid SAR that was more accurate than the previous iterations. And so I would highly encourage everybody, if they're going to attempt to do any of this, that they go ahead and download that indicator. It's absolutely free on TradingView. So the TD sequential and the stop and reverse points, and basically using the TD sequential to time the trade that we're going to get in, use the stop and reverse points as a trailing stop loss for our trades, but then also consider, when we hit a 9, or if we hit a 9, I should say, potentially taking a profit or tightening up the stop loss to something that's extremely tight. And then also a little trick you taught me last time we did this, when we had our sort of pre-testing show, which is you can pull up a split screen with the 15-minute chart, and you can look and see where levels of support and resistance might be developing, and you can also decide to tighten the stop or take profit once price comes back down to those levels. And just off the top of my head here, if you look at this 15-minute chart compared to the 3-minute chart, you can see that there's a pretty established level of support that has been forming right here within the range of, say, 95.55 and 95.60. That would be a good place, I think, to start considering taking profit if you had taken a trade to the downside somewhere up in this range. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's definitely a very clear strategy, very easy to follow for anyone involved, in a strategy that I really like. When I one of the deficiencies for me when trading the TD sequential is the stop loss system for crypto will often trail stops a little bit too tight. It's something that I struggled with trading the TD sequential with the stop loss that is outlined for that system. And the solution that I came to is that the parabolic SAR can be just a beautiful way to complement the TD sequential. What I trust more than anything else for trailing stops is the parabolic SAR. So therefore, we can use the TD to enter and to spot 9s and to partial profit take on those 9s, and use the parabolic SAR to go ahead and kind of complement it to trail the stop loss. One other thing that I really, really like that I would definitely recommend you to consider is I really like using 2 time frames, one that signals the entries and exits, and then I like using the higher time frame, like Gabriel said, to identify areas of support and resistance, and also to confirm that I'm trading with the trend on the higher time frame. So what I would do, if this was me, the only tweak that I would make that I think would make actually a big difference is say that I'm only going to take positions that are in line with the parabolic SAR on the higher time frame chart. So for people watching, think about right now, and entries being signaled from the TD on the 3-minute, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So right now we've got the 2 below the 1 is signaling an entry, and we might as well just go ahead and take that while we're at it. You want to go ahead and pull the trigger on that guy, or is there yeah, it looks like everything's lined up.
Yeah, it looks like we've got the 2 below the 1 here, so we're just going to go ahead and get in. Let's see here. Now we didn't talk about yet, and maybe we can take it slow here real quick to tell this to folks that it makes a lot more sense on BitMEX to put in a post limit order as opposed to actually putting an order in at the market price because of the fact that you actually get a rebate when you place an order into the system to build liquidity, versus if you take an order from the market, you end up paying a pretty significant fee when it's all said and done.
Absolutely, yep. And that's one of the things that's beautiful about BitMEX is we would actually get paid for entering orders. If it's on the limit side, if it's a maker order, we get paid for that. So that can definitely help when people are trading small time frames. The number one thing to protect yourself, the number one thing that makes it such that people lose is the fees. You can have a very small move, say the price moves $10 in your favor. The fees will be such that you would not be able to get in and out at a profitable trade. Whereas on BitMEX, you can literally get in and out at the same exact price and have a profitable trade. As long as both are limit orders, you limit buy at 95.09, and then you limit sell at 95.09, you just made money. So if the price goes $10 in your favor, you made even more. So did we get filled there?
We did not get filled. And actually, that was my fault. I had it on stop market instead of limit, so I wasn't figuring out why I wasn't able to post a buy or a sell stop slightly above the price. It was because I had it on stop instead of on limit order. So,
all right.
So we've actually switched over to a green one now.
Now we've got a color flip, so we can just wait, and now we're back to a 3. So this is an area where it's up to Gabriel how he wants to go about it. For me, I would go ahead and enter right now because the red 2 signaled the entry, and we just kind of didn't, something happened and we didn't get in. So if it was me, I would go ahead and enter because it's not like the price really left us behind and now it's way behind. It's actually giving us a little bit better price. So yeah, I would go ahead and do that. And let's see if we've got...
And so that logic, of course, is that since we would have put in an order at 95.02 to enter into that trade, and we would have been happy getting that price, then that same signal still applies. So we should be ecstatic about getting a price that's $8 better since we're doing such a short, small time frame. This is a pretty significant move in a good direction for us.
Exactly. As long as the stop hasn't been taken out, as long as the SAR is still intact, then yeah, I would say sweet. We're getting actually a better price. So awesome. And now time to go ahead and enter that stop loss. We see that's what Gabriel is doing. As soon as you enter the position, entering that stop is what you got to do. And
when you're on BitMEX, I sorry to cut you off there, but just make sure whenever you're entering a stop loss on BitMEX, you want to make sure you click close on trigger, or you may accidentally end up opening another position for yourself as opposed to actually exiting the position that you're currently in.
Absolutely right.
I learned that one the hard way as well.
Me too.
So there's the buy stop in there.
Okay.
And I did 2 contracts. Just since we're first starting off, I figured there's one to take profit on, and then we'll still have one on the books if we decide to take partial profit at any time.
Excellent. And it looks like, did we already have a Bitcoin position open that this added it to, or let's go back to the positions tab.
Yep.
And so we were short 200, now we're short 202. Great, that works just fine. And this is why we'll have a separate account just to make that much easier.
Yeah, in the future. We just didn't have it set up yet, but we'll have that in the future. No big deal.
Absolutely. So great. So now we've got our signal was, and our entry was signaled, and we went ahead and entered the stop loss. If you want to pull back the trading view chart, I'll just finish my thought from before. I kind of stopped myself so we could go ahead and enter that position. So right now, what we have to do is every 3-minute candle close, we need to trail that stop. So that's what our job is going to be moving forward. We've got another minute and 30 seconds. And in the meantime, I was talking about using the SAR on the higher time frame to confirm entries and to only trade in line with the SAR on the higher time frame. So when we had that red 2 below the red 1 on the 3-minute, with the SARs, that was confirmed with the SARs above the price. And while I'm talking, do you want to kind of highlight with your mouse what I'm talking about just to make it a little bit easier? Yeah. So we had the red 2 below the red 1 on the 3-minute. And if the SARs were below the price, that would signal a no trade zone. That would signal that we are not taking this entry because SARS below the price is bullish, and the stop loss cannot be, if we're shorting, we can't have a stop loss that's below the price. That's how you have to make sure that you are only taking signals on the TD that are in the same direction as the parabolic SAR on the 3-minute. And I would say the same, to just be even that much more careful and more confirmation, is on the higher time frame 15-minute, is I would say if that SAR was bullish, that would be enough for me to pass on this trade. And seeing that it is also bearish on the 15-minute, on the 3-minute, now it tells me, okay, I'm only going to take trades to the short side. So if I get a green 2 above a green 1, I'm not taking it until the 15-minute SAR gets broken to the upside. That's the only addition that I would make to the approach that you outlined. And again, this will be up to Gabriel how he wants to trade, and that's the only input that I have to add.
One other thing too that I'm not necessarily sure that it's something we need to use, but it is something that I like to have, which is a 50 EMA and a 200 EMA. Another confirmation of the trend. You have the 50 EMA below the 200 EMA. That to me, along with the parabolic stop and reverse points being above the price, it signals to me that we are in fact in the midst of a bear trend at the moment.
Yep.
Same over here for the 15-minute chart. So we've got the higher time frame matching up and telling us, well, really just being in agreement with the lower time frame, and that should give us a lot of confidence. Let's see here. So we're in our trade. We're actually at a better price than we were at previously, even though we had a green 1 print here. We then had another red 1. Now we've got the red 2 trading below red 1. So had we not entered this position, this would have been an entry for us right here on this 2 going below the 1. We would essentially got in at about the same price we got in at previously. And one other thing I want to add here before this candle closes, we have to move the stop loss again. I should have already moved it here a second ago. So yep. This is what happens when I try to talk and do stuff at the same time. I'm not a multitasker. So
and that's quite
I need to go
right.
and update that stop right here to 95.46. And there was one other thing that I wanted to share, and this is not really going to necessarily be relevant for this video, but it is something that I love. I love me some chart patterns, especially when you have something like this, where you have an established area of resistance, turns into support, a left shoulder, a head, and if we bounce from this area and don't actually fall through quickly, and we actually start to build a right shoulder here, this could potentially be a pretty cool head and shoulders play to the downside, just something that people might want to take a look at.
Yeah, good catch. I didn't see that at all, and you're absolutely right. A bounce from here and resistance below 95.75 could give us a head and shoulders pattern, absolutely. So let's see. So you already adjusted the stop. Great. We've got 30 seconds left. It looks like it's moving in our favor. We are liking this action so far. And something else to touch on. Gabriel mentioned the 50 and 200 EMAs. That's a tool that is my favorite, and I absolutely love those. And the whole point is that you want to have something that signals your entry and something that identifies the trend. And then you take entries that are only in the same direction as the trend. The video just cut out on YouTube. I wonder what happened. It might be it's just my computer. It's going good. Okay, so if you have something to signal an entry and something to identify a trend, you're ready to trade. And you can use the EMAs, you can use the SAR, and you can use a higher time frame. That's where you want to personally, it's up to individuals personally to decide what what resonates with them, what works with them, what works with your time horizon. Like Gabriel, he likes trading the 4-hour charts, just like me, but he didn't copy me. He tried a bunch of different
smokes. And I don't mean to cut you off there, but woo.
And this is just such sweet action, just exactly what I'm wanting to see. I was on Tone's show earlier today calling for a breakdown to happen very soon. He was in disagreement with me, and as soon as I logged off, the price started dumping, so that's pretty cool. And I am definitely...
Is that a hashtag humble brag?
I guess, I don't know if the humble needs to be there. Feeling... Feeling good.
If I could throw a couple of things in there real quick, I did want to shill shamelessly that I have been more as a project for myself to, they say that the best way to learn something is to try to teach what you've learned to someone else. And so in that respect, I've been putting out little 5 to 10 minute videos once a day, trading the daily chart on my YouTube channel. You can find it on my Twitter handle @CrazyGaby. I'm sure it'll be linked in the description for this YouTube video, or you can just go to Gabriel Harber, my name, on YouTube and check out those videos. But that's the same thing I've been looking at too. And I actually have intentionally been waiting a day to watch every one of your videos. I've actually watched all your streams, but I wait a day to watch it because I figure it won't do me any good if I'm trailing what it is that you're doing. And I've actually been really pleased that a lot of the methods that you have taught me have really landed me at the same or very similar ideas for what I think is going to happen in the market. And I've been basing my trades off of those, and they've been very successful as of the last month or so. So I think that is definitely a brag for you that your methods have been paying off with somebody who sometimes doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but your information has been so good that it's actually just working.
Well, I really do appreciate that, and definitely reiterate to head on over to Crazy Gaby's channel and take note that he keeps the videos nice and short and bite size, which is what a lot of people want, whereas I do not. Originally, I thought I was going to be able to have my own show, keep it to only 30 minutes, but that's just not happening. I'm not even going to try anymore. I'm just going to do long shows. And as mentioned, I have been a very kind of proud teacher to see Gabriel's analysis be not very good, but also very much in line with how I'm seeing the markets. And he's coming to this independently, basically all the time. So if you like my analysis, then you're probably going to like Gabriel's as well, because we look at the markets very similarly. And if you want short, bite-sized videos, then he's your guy. And if you like the longer format, then I will continue going in that direction. So definitely way to go on not only getting that channel going, but also now establishing some success with your trades. That's very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm liking it a lot. And a couple other things I want to point out to folks. Since we're in a trade and there's not a whole lot of action, we basically are just riding this bad boy to the downside, and every 3 minutes we're updating our stop loss. But there is something interesting here playing out on the 15-minute chart. And it is in line with what I have been talking about the last couple of weeks on my videos, which is, for me, $9,500 is the last stand for price before a major move to the downside. Now, that doesn't mean price has to break down. Bitcoin doesn't have to do anything I want it to do, or you want it to do, or anybody and their grandmother wants it to do. But it is, I think, a very likely area to break down from, or bounce and begin the resumal. I'm not sure if that's a word, but to resume the bull market that we were in. So in that light, this potential head and shoulders that was developing here, or maybe we just break down here, is pretty interesting to me, especially because you can see as the 50 EMA came up and attempted to death cross the 200 EMA, you get this action that I've been noticing a lot with Bitcoin, particularly on the 4-hour chart, which is price almost begins to oscillate between the 50 and the 200 like a sine wave for, I've been seeing at least 30, 40, 50 candles sometimes before ultimately being rejected, and being rejected harshly. I don't have any sort of facts to back this up with. I haven't ran any backtesting analysis, but just from what I've seen previously, it seems like generally when you get this like sine wave oscillation that prevents the 50 EMA from crossing the 200 EMA, a lot of that represents bears that are essentially saying, no, we don't think the price is worth being this high. We don't think it should be this high. And so the price begins to get pushed down, and the bulls pick back up. But each time they pick back up, they get a little weaker. They're unable to push it as high as they want to push it and get that golden cross to occur. And then you get something like this finally when the sellers overwhelm the buyers. And that's just something that my elementary mind has noticed a lot on the 4-hour chart, and something that I'm noticing here that gives me also additional confidence to the downside.
Yeah, that's very interesting input, and we'll be interested if you do some more back testing. I said do. So definitely let me know if you find out any more information there. I view it a little bit different in terms of if the price. When the price tests the 200 EMA with a death cross, the 50 is below the 200 EMA, and the price is testing it, that's a sell signal for me. And this is a perfect example of why I love the EMAs over the simple moving averages. Is the simple moving averages might have crossed like 2 or 3 times in that action, whereas the EMAs just refuse to cross. It's really hard to make them cross. So when they do cross, it's a very important signal. But when they don't, it is also a very important signal. If the bulls are really, they're at that point where they're trying to get that golden cross, and if they can get it, you would expect resistance to break through. If they can't, then you expect a sharp reaction to the downside. See that time and time again, where if it gets very close to getting a crossover and it doesn't, then it's a strong sign that the prior move will continue. And you've seen that as we have been talking, Gabriel has been going over and adjusting the stop losses. So that is just based on every time a new candle opens. You actually don't need to wait for the close. When a new candle opens, a new SAR will print, and at that time, Gabriel goes ahead and adjusts his stop. So you can see, trading the 3-minute chart, you don't have 3 minutes, so you can barely go to the bathroom, right? You got to be there, and that's all that you're doing. Whereas if you're trading the daily chart, you really only need to come in once a day at the end of the candle to, as soon as the candle closes, the next one opens, you come in and you adjust your stop loss. That can take 5 minutes, not even, such that you are using this strategy on the daily and only needing to check the charts once a day at the candle close for 5 minutes to see where did that SAR print. Another reason why I love the SAR so much is just very objective and straightforward. You don't have to do anything except just look where it is and then go ahead and adjust, and that's what Gabriel's been doing a good job of, as we see that the price did move in our favor and now it's coming back up towards the stop. This is an area where many people will feel like, man, we maybe missed out on a bunch of profit there, but that's a situation where it's very important to stick to your guidelines. And Gabriel mentioned that he absolutely was planning on taking profit before the stop loss was triggered, but he was looking for a 9. He wasn't looking to cover some of his position on a red 3 below a red 2, because that really could have continued in a big way to the downside, and it still might before the stop loss gets triggered. And this is actually a really good example of where the SAR may do better from the TD sequential stop loss, because as I understand the TD sequential stop loss, this pretty much would have already triggered a stop, at least based on how I learned it from Tone.
I probably would have had my stop in the middle of this 2 candle.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Large 2 candle here.
Exactly what I was thinking.
It would have definitely been triggered by now. And if I could just add one thing here, let me actually go over here and adjust the stop to 95.21. If I could add one thing to what you were saying, it's this is why I think it's also very important to identify levels of horizontal support and resistance, because it does, even if it's not necessarily a signal for you to enter or exit, it gives you, I think, the added confidence to be willing to stand pat. Example, this area right here, this $9,500 area, we look at the 15-minute chart, we see that it has been excellent resistance and support in the past. Price is finally dipping down below it. We have the close of a 15-minute candle down below this area, and you can literally in real time see the buyers trying desperately to get the price back up over 9,500, and the sellers are answering with a resounding no. So my, sort of binary scenarios here is going to be either we're going to fall quickly to the downside, or we are going to fly to the upside if the buyers manage to overwhelm the selling pressure that's sitting right here at 9,500. And because of that, I didn't want to take a measly little profit right here, scalp $15 worth of value off of this trade that we made. I am perfectly willing get stopped out and lose $10 on the trade or something around that in terms of the actual the basis point, the points that the price moved against me, to potentially capture a massive move to the downside. And that's something that you taught me as well, which is if you don't give your stop loss room to breathe, then yeah, you may exit with some profit when your stop gets triggered, but ultimately you're going to miss out on the massive moves. And maybe 1 out of every 10, 1 out of every 20, 1 out of every 50 trades are going to be the trades that actually make you the majority of your money in the long run. So you need to set yourself up so that you're in a position to capitalize on whenever you're in a position and then price moves massively in the direction that you were wagering on.
Very, very good input and great analysis. What Gabriel just said there is just so important and basically sums up very a lot of the most important things about trading. And the first thing that he said about he's just totally fine taking a loss on this position if it does move against him, because he's sticking to his system and he understands that most of the trades are going to be small and medium losses and small to medium wins. He understands that, and he is unwilling to go against the system that he has outlined for us that he's going to be trading just to get a little bit of profit that is there on the table when it looks like the position is starting to move against him. So that is just really, really good input, and I would strongly recommend people to make sure you understand everything that Gabriel just said. And for some reason, I just got signed out of YouTube. I have no idea why that would happen.
Yeah, guys, ever since YouTube decided to kick Hangouts to the curb, this has been hellacious. And you're not the first person I've heard this from. All the channels I follow on YouTube, whether it's trading or politics or philosophy, everybody is like, what the F, YouTube, what are you doing?
Well, I'm glad to hear, because I mean, I had, once I started my channel, I've never done this really by myself, but I'd always set up the streams before. And I mean, what a terrible timing for me to have everything switched around.
Right as shit hit the fan, you decided to start streaming. So.
Yeah, it's like basically the day that they took out Google Hangouts, and now we've got a setup that's it's working, but it's not anywhere near ideal. The quality sucks. Like the resolution is terrible. I can only use, like, if my screen is this big, I'm using like this much of my screen to look at what we're doing right now. So it's really screwy, but something is better than nothing, and I'm glad to hear that it's not just my incompetence. That's for darn sure.
I want to look at something here that I think might be interesting. So I'm seeing the beginnings of a cup and handle here. I want to go down to the 1 minute chart here. I'm just going to real quick go over and see what it looks like.
Huh, that is very interesting. I never would have thought that, and you nailed it. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess not. It doesn't have like that cup. It's got more of that kind of spike, which is certainly still could fit the bill. That is interesting and good eye. I never would have thought to look at that.
So now we'll go back to the 50-minute chart, and just not really something that's consequential for what we're doing here, but I'll tell you what, I love chart patterns, and the reason why I like chart patterns so much, and the reason why you and I have had so many discussions about which different strategies I was going to implement and how I was going to implement them. And ultimately, I used to have like 15 indicators loaded up. I was one of those folks that you see my screen and it looks like, a confetti monster vomited all over the place, as opposed to a legible chart. And you and I talked about it so much, about how simplify, and trust your signals is the way that you're actually going to make money in the markets. It's going to basically be paralysis by analysis if you don't. If you have too many indicators, too many signals, you'll get head faked out of too many trades. You'll get head faked into too many trades, and it's ultimately going to end up being frustrating and unprofitable at best. So, what I've rolled with is pretty much the 50 and the 200 EMA, or if I'm on the daily chart, I use the 7 and the 30, which is the 1 week and the 1 month, roughly analogous to the 50 and 200 on the 4-hour chart. And then I use the stop and reverse points, the TD sequential, of course, really the TD setup phase. I don't pay much attention to the sequential side of the TD, really only use the setup for entries and exits on the 9s. And then the other thing is, of course, chart patterns. My mind is very visual. And for any of you out there who sometimes get a little overwhelmed with numbers like I do, I was terrible at math. I absolutely love the visual aspect of chart patterns. It's just like, it's where the first place my mind goes is to see, is there any sort of correlation between all these, random red and green blips all over the screen. So I figured I'd just add that in because that's just like the first thing I'm looking for. And so I couldn't do away with chart patterns because they're so damn reliable. And it really is, I think it brings out the better aspects of my strategic abilities. And that's why I like to use them.
Uh, great input. I definitely appreciate that. And what you said is definitely very important. And just kind of talking about what works for you, what resonates with you. I absolutely love chart patterns myself. I'm the same way. I see patterns everywhere I look. I'm like almost borderline crazy that way. But I absolutely love patterns. I love fractals. These are some of my favorite things. Other people, may hate patterns and hate fractals and hate trend lines, which is another one of my favorite tools. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. If it works for you, that's what matters. Putting a lot of people are obsessed with putting together a really pretty chart that gets a ton of likes and follows on Twitter and TradingView or whatever. And pretty charts they don't matter unless you can use that to make money. And if you can use that to make money, then it doesn't matter if I like it or if Gabriel likes it or anything else. And you have to experiment, and then just see what works for you. What is something that makes sense to your mind's eye. Like the log charts are something that I have never really liked until seeing how well some other people have used them. And now my mind is starting to kind of understand when and where it might be a good idea to go ahead and look at that. And I absolutely would be doing that exact same thing right there, is looking at that. Oh, I was just thinking of just one trend line, but yeah, you're right. Totally could give that a descending triangle. And just notice the prior horizontal that Gabriel had drawn, that when we bounced off of that red 3 and then the red 4 and the red 5 came up, notice just how beautifully that came to his horizontal and then found resistance in real time, as Gabriel said, that's what he thought was going to happen. I mean, just to a T. That's the type of stuff that the more you see that in real time, and it's lines that you've drawn yourself with nobody else's help, that's when you start to believe in technical analysis. And a lot of people do not believe in technical analysis. And I just like to say that, just because your technical analysis, somebody else,
Warren Buffett.
yeah, just because somebody out there can't use technical analysis for themselves, that doesn't mean it doesn't work for anybody. And the more that you are in here drawing, lines based on patterns or prior horizontals or whatever the case may be, and the more you see the price respect those boundaries and then also make huge moves after breaking down, like for example, if this descending triangle does break down, we can measure that move and see that, if we get an 8 or a 9 that is coming around the measured move of that, now we're definitely going to be taking profit, and that might just give us even that much more confidence that our technical analysis is working. So definitely like what you're doing right now, and hopefully this thing will break down before those SARs get taken out.
That is what I'm hoping for as well. And
what's your entry?
What'd you say?
What's your entry?
We entered at 95.10, I believe.
Excellent.
95.08 or 95.10. So we're at break even right now. So we're free rolling at the moment.
That is my favorite thing.
And this, by the way, and I'm gonna go ahead and just parlay right into this. If we get a red 3 below a red 2 here, I am adding to my position. Now that we're at break even and we cannot lose money on this trade, I will be adding to the position.
Beautiful, and some more really, really good input. That's exactly how I would like to go about it. I love nothing more than moving stops into to break even or into profit, because now it's like you said, it's a free roll. It's like imagine I get pocket aces and you get pocket aces, and I've got a heart, and the board comes out, the flop is 3 hearts. Now I've got a free roll. Those next 2 cards, if one of those cards is a heart, I win the pot. There's no way for Gabriel to win, because the best he can do is chop. Whereas I have a free roll to potentially win money without risking any. The worst I could do in that situation is break even. Best I could do is win the entire pot. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. If we can get our stop to break even or even into profit, we've got a free roll. We can just let this baby ride. We can let the trend go as far as it can possibly go. And we can also look to add, because now we are not risking any money. So therefore, if we get another signal to enter, we can absolutely go ahead and take that and understand that we are not risking more than we first did. If we decided to enter 2 contracts on the 2 below the 1 because the risk was about in the range of what we were willing to take. Well, now we can do the same thing because our stop is at break even and there's no more risk that is in that position. So that is absolutely a great way to aggressively kind of take advantage of a trend that's moving in your favor.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. And I wanted to point this out as well. This is a little bit of an advanced technical aspect. I mean, I shouldn't say advanced because there's nothing about me that's advanced yet, but the trend TD setup support line, the trend line here, that prints off whenever you have the green one is a support line, and it prints off whenever you have a 9 count completed to the upside. So somewhere back in here, there was a 9 count that completed to the upside, and then the lowest price within that 9 count to the upside will generate this support line right here. And look at that, our SAR just got taken out, and it looks like we are going to test this area here.
Wow. And I would think we're probably going to break it since we resisted once and then found support, and now
with that cup and handle I was talking about on the 1 minute chart, looks like that actually just played out.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I wonder.
There we go.
Yeah, that absolutely. Yeah, that's quite interesting. And something else to note, if you want to go back to that 15-minute, is those dotted lines that you were talking about.
They held us support perfectly here.
Absolutely. We tried to fall below, and I was absolutely watching this candle to see if we could close a 15-minute below that TDST level, that Tom DeMark setup trend line, and seeing that we are reversing now is certainly something that would lead me to believe that that horizontal is going to not be able to hold as resistance, that the fall below is just kind of a fake breakdown, a bear trap, if you will, and now a bounce off of support is to be expected. So here, if you get a green 2 above a green 1, are you going to be going long?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
But I'm going to be not as confident as I was previously because the higher time frame still has the parabolic stop and reverse points above the price. So I'm more aggressive, especially since I'm doing this, lower time frame to try to see more candles and experience more situations. But if I was on the daily chart, let's say, and I was looking at, trading a significantly, I guess a better way to put it would be if I was being much more conservative and I was trading on the daily chart, I probably would pass up on this trade.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one that I don't like because you've got bearish moving averages on like all time frames. The 3 minute and the 15 are fully bearish, and then the SAR on the 15 is fully bearish. So it's something that I would be saying, hey, I'm only going to take signals that are in line with those indicators. But the reason why I do actually like this is because we're at horizontal support. Being at horizontal support is a great area to look for long entries. So this is one that horizontals matter to me almost as much as anything else, and therefore seeing a sharp fall into horizontal support and signs looking like it's going to hold tells me that I kind of do like this, and I guess we better get ready because it won't take much for this to be signaled.
95.08.
And here we might want to enter a stop limit order. Or it's already triggered, so yeah, now we can just enter the limit at the current price. And market's moving all the way up to 95.14. And big orders, so it's going to be tough to get filled.
Yeah, so we're just going to leave that there, and hopefully price will come back down to meet us.
Love it. I think it'll happen.
Yeah.
And that's where...
If not, I'll be willing to go with the 3 above the 2.
And that's where it takes some experience to learn, where is this, did I miss out? Should I leave my order here? Should I move my order up? All those things will take experience. And I loved Gabriel's read right there. That's exactly what I would have thought, is seeing when the market's really moving quickly like that, and every time we try to enter the order, it's already moved beyond us. That's when I think that there's a high probability it's going to come back down very soon, and I would absolutely be leaving that order. Maybe I would move it up to like 95.15, but I definitely wouldn't be chasing all the way up here.
Woo.
Woo-wee!
Now, see, what is those called, a Mazu Bozu or some crazy shit like that?
Marubozu?
Yeah, there you go. I like the little accent on that. So here's my thought right now, and the reason why I was confident taking that trade to the upside, but also why I'm perfectly fine leaving that trade. I didn't get my order filled, is because, like I said earlier, I'm seeing this giant head and shoulders pattern forming potentially on this 15-minute chart, which is perfectly in line with the analysis that I have been looking at for over a month now on the daily chart and the 4-hour chart and the weekly chart. This, to me, could represent the inflection point of when price is finally ready to break down that $9,500 area, because what are we at? 5:17 p.m. Eastern time right now. So 8 p.m. is what, 20? Yeah, so when we get the daily close tonight, that could be around the time that we could see price coming back down, if it does pop back up and then come back down over here, or sometime after the daily close this evening. That just is also, I think, one of the advantages if you are familiar with what's going on multiple time frames that are higher, even if they're not necessarily the time frames that you're trading. I think it can just help inform the decision that you're making as well. And then you don't have to panic when you see a candle like this, like, oh no, I missed the trade. I could have gotten in this 2 above the 1. Well, just, settle down there. There's going to be plenty more opportunities. There will be plenty more candles in the future. Maybe we even get filled here.
And I'm going to interrupt real quickly just because I want to say before this happens that I would personally be canceling my order at this point, seeing, like, if we come all the way back down there now, I would think that was just a little... I wouldn't want to be filled if we come all the way back and fully retrace that too. I really would not want to see that, in terms of that is a much different sort of scenario than if we wouldn't have had that huge shoot up there, where it went from 95.15 all the way to like 95.50 in the matter of a few seconds. So that really changed things for me. And now seeing this huge wick coming off resistance, look at how beautifully our technical indicators caught that. I mean, could you blow up the top chart, the 3-minute, make it full screen? And I'll tell you another way to do that, but it doesn't matter. That worked just fine. So see, we got TDST
resistance right here.
Right there. And then what did I say myself is that I have a sell signal if the price tests that 200 EMA with the 50 below. So when we hit that 200 EMA, that would have signaled a sell entry for me, and I would immediately be into profit. So that is just technical indicators working very beautifully. And then also look at how well our SAR worked. I mean, how beautiful is that stop loss that we took? We kept ourselves in the position when it looked like horizontal was breaking down and then holding as resistance, when the position very much still could have broken down in our favor. It was forming a descending triangle, and we were loving being short right there. And then as soon as our stop gets taken out, boom, the price just skyrockets. I mean, that is absolutely absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's textbook. And two things I want to point out with what you just said, though. You can let me know if I'm incorrect here, but I would think that, given that we're trading the 3-minute chart, and the fact that price moved so fast, meaning there wasn't a whole lot of liquidity that was in this range right here, I don't think you would have had an opportunity to buy this rejection off the 200 EMA in real time on the 3-minute scale. Would you agree with that?
Well, I would be looking to sell, and you could be right, but maybe not, because potentially, and moving forward in the future, I probably will go ahead and just do some of this myself with my techniques, and so that you guys can see the difference. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't do that, and that will be a lot of fun. So for me, it's really important to be looking forward. And if you remember in this video, basically when that 2 printed before that shot way up, when we had that 2 right there open, I said we better get ready and maybe we should enter a stop limit order. If it was me trading, I would have made sure that I had a stop limit order above that 1, such that as soon as the signal occurred with the 2 above the 1, my stop limit is triggered, and it probably would have got left behind. It maybe not. But the point is that I would have been looking ahead of time, because I know how fast these markets, can move. And if I'm wanting to use limit order orders, it's really, really important to be looking ahead. So what I would have been seeing is the parabolic SAR break and then the move back above that horizontal. I would have been looking at, and I'll wait until the chart is pulled back up before finishing, because that could get a little bit confusing. And if you don't know what a stop limit order is, go to BitMEX tutorial 103, I believe. Just check the title, that will tell you. I go through all of that stuff. So
I just put a buy stop in right here for if this 4 goes above the 3.
Interesting, okay. Yep, I would be passing myself, because the one reason I liked this is because it was when the price was at support around 95. Up here, I think this is resistance, but we got to let Gabriel do his thing, and I'll chime in. But definitely, it's up to him to make decisions, and that's where as soon as that candle does get above the 3, the stop limit would be triggered, and we may or may not get filled depending on if there's sellers. But what's really nice about that is, when we saw earlier, we were trying to get in, and there was like a $2 million order. It was going to be really hard for us to get filled on a limit. With that stop limit, we're the first one in line. Like, we're the first one that gets an order. We're at the top of the line. So if anybody's getting filled, it's going to be us. So to answer your question in terms of would I have been able to sell that test of the 200 EMA? Maybe, maybe not. And what I would have been looking at is the parabolic SAR break and the move back above horizontal support. When we got back above 95 on that green one, now I would be looking to set limit orders to be waiting. I could look at where's the 200 EMA, it's at X price. So I'm thinking that a bounce looks likely here. You heard us talking in real time. We thought that it looks like it's going to go ahead and bounce. I might have had the awareness to go ahead and enter a limit order at that price, such that before that 2 even opened, I've got an order waiting to sell that EMA. And I probably would have, if I saw all those TDSTs above, or if I'm trading, doing this, I probably would have went ahead and entered that order. So I'm inclined to think that I probably would have gotten that. And that's a good area where limit orders always get filled. If I had a limit order up in there, as the price is shooting straight up on that green 2 above the green 1, it is doing so with tons and tons of market buyers, market buys, market buys, market buys. So anybody with a limit order there would have gotten filled. And that's a good example of kind of why I like to use the techniques that I do is often it will be, I'll be letting the market come to me. Like the TD sequential is you're waiting for the market to go away from you, essentially. If you're wanting to long, you want the price to go above the previous candle, so it's moving away from you. Whereas how I like to trade, I strongly prefer to let the market come to me. To, if I'm looking to buy, wait for it to dip, and if I'm looking to sell, wait for it to bounce. That's how I like to do it, and one of the main reasons is the liquidity that is going to be there when you are selling against bounces or buying into dips. So long-winded way to say that I'd like to think I would have gotten that sell, but maybe I wouldn't have, because that happened very quickly. And that's how quickly it can happen, is why it's so important to me to look ahead of time and really be as prepared as possible. So this is interesting, getting the 5.
Let me,
go ahead.
Can I chime in here real quick?
Please.
So the reason that I like this trade is, first of all, looking at the higher time frame, of course, I'm already expecting some sort of right shoulder action at this point, because we did get such a solid bounce off of this area where we put our head and shoulders neckline at. And also we triggered our parabolic stop and reverse point, so now that's in a bullish posture. And we don't need to necessarily get back up over this 200 EMA in order for this head and shoulders to play out and for this to be a profitable trade. So my thought process is that if I get in here, that I'm thinking, or really what the pattern I'm looking at here is telling me, is that we're likely going to go up a little bit higher, at least at some point here in the future, especially with the parabolic stop and reverse point being triggered, and that I would be looking to take profit once price got up around the 200 EMA again. Do you think that is a bad strategy?
No. I just think that it's just not something I would take, because I view testing that 200 EMA as a sell signal, and we're pretty darn close to that right now. So for me, I'm just viewing this as resistance, and I would just kind of disagree in terms of if we do bounce from here up to even test the 200 EMA or anywhere in there, then I wouldn't really think that this is a head and shoulders anymore. You really want the head to be significantly above the shoulders, and for me, I would really want to see it resist below that TDST level that was support right there for the head. If we can resist below that, then this looks like a head and shoulders to me. You do see that the left shoulder got above that, and I don't like that. That is a reason why it doesn't look too clean, which chart patterns tend not to on lower time frames. But if we're expecting this to play out as a head and shoulders, I don't think it would get much higher than 95.60. And it makes me think if we zoom out to like the 30-minute, maybe it'd look a little cleaner. Let's try that. Yeah, a little bit cleaner. With that, it's just kind of like got a head and shoulders with the bullish slant. And this is a great example of how we'll often get fractals on lower time frames of what we're seeing on higher time frames. So I've been seeing a head and shoulders on the 4-hour all the way up to the daily with a bullish slant. And that is basically what we're kind of seeing here. Is I'd kind of say that this thing already confirmed a head and shoulders. Do you want to go back to that 30-minute one more time and just
Here we go.
Give us a trend line, you know, kind of before that breakdown, if we start down at the bottom left of that screen.
Okay, 1 second here. You're saying down here?
Yep, and give us a bull trend line, like right around there. See what we can do.
Shoot. Hold on a second.
There we go. So yeah. That's what I would be looking at, and saying that basically this is a, you know, just kind of a funky, maybe you call it a symmetrical triangle, maybe you call it a head and shoulders. I like the head and shoulders interpretation the best, and then we see that price confirmed, and now it looks like it's throwing back and has retested it as resistance. So my opinion is that this thing is a symmetrical triangle. Yeah, I like that a lot. That broke down as confirmed and has thrown back and retested it for resistance. Let's start the bottom left part. Let's start that up, move it up to that, just so it's kind of equilateral. And then let's measure that move and see how far a measured move would be.
And how do you measure?
So what I do is you see that down arrow right above you. So one more up from that up. Yep, that one. Here. And click the sideways arrow to have it kind of come out. Nope, that's not going to be the right one. And go to price range. And then I just go from top to bottom of that triangle. And that gives us 180, is that right? $187?
$187.
What's the 374, I wonder? I'm not sure what that would be. So if we've got 2% of, yeah, 2%, that's right, 187. Okay, so we would say 187 minus where the, that 5, like the bottom of that 4, yeah, right there. So what's that give us?
95.69.
Minus 187. I'll do that real quickly. 9569 minus 187 is 93.82 is the target from that symmetrical triangle, which is a very important target because I could agree with what Gabriel said earlier that 95 is kind of Custard's last stand. If the bulls can support that, a lot of things can happen. If that area breaks down, I become highly confident in another significant leg to the downside. So this has been going on for a while now. Let's see. Only 50 minutes. That's not too bad. So we will let this trade play out here and then kind of call it a day. So we could potentially be looking at a 9 coming up. What's our entry on this guy?
We got in on the 4 above the 3, so 95.46. I would definitely think that taking, see, this is where it kind of gets interesting for me, since I have so many things that are telling me that, hey, maybe this is a trade to the downside, and hey, maybe this is a trade to the upside. I might move my stop loss. See, it looks like we're forming an area of support right here. I might move my stop loss to the bottom of the real body of this 3 candle right here, instead of actually taking profit.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely, because when we make a big move like that before we enter, that means we're pretty darn far away from those SARs and taking on a significant amount of risk, and therefore looking to trail that a little tighter makes a whole lot of sense. And I agree. If you break down that area and go back below that 50 EMA, and that should be the top, would be my read. So that therefore a stop loss at that area makes a lot of sense. Why don't you zoom out on that 30-minute, see if we see anything else with some more data to the left. Does it line up with a horizontal? It looks like it does. The target from the symmetrical triangle that we measured is 93.82, and then look at that horizontal. Beautiful.
Look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. Man, technical analysis is something, huh?
It sure is. I got a great comment in one of my streams the other day. Somebody said #gay for TA, and I like that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and front run and put my stop loss at 95.40 here, because we're at the 200 EMA.
Yep. And is the plan to trim half of the position if we get to a 9?
I think I'm comfortable with the stop loss just staying there.
Okay.
I don't think I necessarily, because this is a small loser if price comes back down. And like I said, my interpretation, and I definitely understand that it's different than yours, and I don't think that I would say that you're necessarily wrong, but my interpretation of this being a head and shoulders about to play out on a massive scale, well, I guess that is getting close to where I would expect it to go. So
yeah, I'm just seeing so much
higher than this. So I think I'm actually taking full profit on a 9 here.
Excellent. I love it. I would be thinking the same thing, because basically look at all that resistance. I mean, moving averages and set up trend lines, horizontals. Like I would feel very confident that this is a great spot to take profit. Like I said, testing the 200 EMA with the 50 below it, that's a sell signal for me. So if I'm in a profitable long, which I wouldn't be, like I said, I wouldn't have hopped in this, that if I was, that this looks like just a great spot to go ahead and either take full profit or take half profit and put yourself into a free roll trade.
By the way, this is also a cup and handle along the 200 EMA.
Yep. I could definitely see that. That would be interesting, and that would be a fairly significant one, especially for that time frame. It'd be like a $140 move. The target on that would be like 97.40 or something, and that would be huge for me. 96 is huge resistance, and there's resistance from 96 all the way to 10,000 as far as I'm concerned.
See, if you look at the bottom chart here, you can see that basically this $9,600 area has been great resistance. We've had 2 pops over it, but price has quickly come crashing back down with no real notable long extended periods of support.
Yeah, so if that kind of cup and handle looking type of pattern does confirm on the 3-minute, that could be enough to blast through that area of resistance. So that would be interesting. Definitely the higher time frame patterns are way more. You have way more confidence in them, but that doesn't mean you totally disregard the short-term targets. So it looks like we're definitely ready for some volatility. One way or the other, and that's when you want to be trading. That's definitely when money is made. So are we on a 9 yet?
We are now.
All right. And it looks like you're putting a stop limit in slightly below the price. This is beautiful, and this is a trick that will make a lot of people some money.
So I've already got that market stop in, but I'm going to try to trigger a limit stop first.
Beautiful. And do you want to move the market stop up to like 95, yep, maybe 54, or like 64? Or,
I was going to do 95, 65.
I like it. So yeah, this is definitely, you said nothing advanced about you, but this is, I mean, as advanced as it really gets. I mean, trading, it's simple, but it's not easy. I can't reiterate that enough, and I didn't come up with that. That is just very true and has resonated with me very much. And Gabriel is definitely doing advanced stuff here, very much so, is that he didn't exit his position right here, right now on the 9. What he did is he put a stop just like a couple ticks below the current price, such that if we just keep blasting straight upwards, he still has his position, and it's like no risk to risk yourself a couple ticks to put that stop loss in there. And then he enters a stop limit order so that he can hopefully get paid to exit this position, while knowing that, and then he's continuing to trail as it does move in his favor. So he's already made money by not putting that exiting right away, by putting a stop below the price. It's already benefited him here. And then he has the stop limit in so that he can try to get paid when he exits that position, and understanding that if that gets blown through, he has a backup, and that's a stop market order, and understanding that close on triggers are selected for each order such that he doesn't have to worry about that other order, the stop market, opening a new position. So I mean, that's about as advanced as anybody ever needs to get. And that's definitely very, very impressive how you see that trick right there of not exiting on the signal, but putting the stop a few ticks away. That makes money time and time and time again. So great job there.
Yeah, so I don't want to get off this stream until we can see if this is going to get triggered or keep going up here. So,
and then let's pull back up that chart. What in the heck's going on? Did we? Okay, we've got
looks like we confirmed the cup and handle.
Yeah, we have 13 seconds left. We might come back down below, but probably not. And then if that also closes above the TDST levels, that would mean...
I bet the 1 minute has this cup and handle looking even cleaner. Yeah, look at it there.
Yeah, totally. And it's confirmed. So we'll see what happens. That is just a crazy move on that 15-minute chart. When's the last time you've seen a move like that? I mean, that's just...
At least a couple days ago, right here.
Yeah. And a sharp spike into resistance. I mean, this is something I would be selling the shit out of. Even though we have that close above the TDSD and all that sort of thing. Testing that 200 EMA on the 30-minute, testing it on the 15-minute, testing it on the 3-minute. It's like, for me, I would be jumping into a short position.
Yeah, and it looks like we got...
So is it 95.90? Is that where a stop is?
Yeah, we already triggered.
Okay.
I think.
Go to positions. Let's see how.
Oh, the 95.85 didn't trigger. Weird. We haven't got down that far yet. But we already triggered on the 95.91.
So we got out on a limit, which is what we wanted at a better. Can you go to positions just to confirm that we are out of that?
Yep, -2 contracts.
Oh, and it looks like, so since you already had a position open, that close on trigger did decrease that position. So now what we can do is just determine, you can calculate the percentage of the move there, and it's definitely was a profitable trade. So it looks like the account is up money. I don't remember what we started at. Do you remember what your account was when we began?
I think we made a few Satoshi. I mean, I don't think we really made anything since we were only trading 1 and 2 contracts at a time.
Yeah.
But we're definitely up money had we been trading for more money than a couple of contracts. I just didn't want to, since I already had an open position, I didn't want to mess with it too much, which is why I only wanted to do the couple of contracts this time.
Excellent. Well, this sure went great. I am very excited about doing this moving forward. You had some really, really good input yourself. If people out there are kind of new to trading, new to technical analysis, I would suggest to watch this a couple times because there are many pearls of wisdom, if I do say so myself, that Gabriel and I went over. There's a huge, huge difference that a lot of people don't understand. The difference between being good at technical analysis and being good at trading. I usually just talk about technical analysis on my shows, and it's something that you can get really, really, really good at technical analysis and be a shit trader. So going over, having a show that is focusing about actually trading opposed to just the technical analysis aspect will bring up some topics that are just so crucial, and we brought up a number of them today. So I'm really excited about this show moving forward. I think there's going to be a lot for people to learn from. You did a great job yourself, and I will look forward to catching you on a regular basis. We will plan on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock Eastern. Will be generally when we meet. Maybe we will go live a little bit after that, but definitely stay tuned and hit that subscribe button if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Go over to Gabriel's channel and subscribe over there so that you can learn some of the technical analysis that he has been teaching in a much shorter format than what is available on my channel, and anything that you can do to support him would be appreciated in terms of subscribing, clicking the thumbs up, and sharing with any friends or family who you think would find it valuable. And that being said, let's just keep an eye on the price for the rest of the day. I think this is a great spot to sell. I think this is a kind of a move that is happening to trap in a lot of bulls before we do break down that 95. That's what I'm viewing. So let's keep an eye on that, see how things develop. And I want to thank you, Gabriel, for joining today and for putting yourself out there, trading live on stream. Most people would not have the courage to do that. So way to go, and thank you very much.
I'm too stupid to be scared, so I suppose I have that going for me.
Well, sounds good. So I think we should make a good team moving forward, and we'll look forward to catching up with you guys next time.
See you later, folks. Thanks for having me.
An error occurred. You have been signed out. It's crazy.